Congressman Paul Tonko joining us from the Capitol Rotunda right now. Congressman, thank you for being with us. Let's talk about a few things, but first what all of America really is talking about. Let's talk about DOGE right now, the efforts going on there. Many people agree with the premise of cutting government waste. It's a good idea, but it's the process that is outraging so many people, the randomness of it in some ways. There's outrage, there's concerns, there's questions. How do you think that program is going so far?
I think it's failing and failing miserably. You know, the American public, like even colleagues of mine and myself, want to make certain that we have the most efficient budget possible, but you don't do it by wielding a chainsaw against the budget. And the theatrics of Mr. Musk holding that chainsaw is extremely hurtful and harmful in terms of the outcome that he has achieved. DOGE has not been sanctioned by Congress. There has been no authorization. And so that shadow agency is being run by Mr. Musk, who's never had a background check and who was never approved for confirmation by the United States Senate. And so I think we really need to work on this in a way that's academic. The way to have done it would be to work through inspectors general, but they were the first to which that they took the desire to cut. And so you lost that talent and that institutional knowledge. They are nonpartisan. They are there to identify any waste and any fraud and any inefficiencies or non-compliance with statute. We have had inspectors general before the number of committees that I've served on to get their update, and there's always a great give and take with them at the table with agency leaders. So they really failed miserably. If you really want to get at waste and fraud and inefficiency, do it in a way that provides the most knowledgeable voices. Otherwise, he resorted to a team of very young people that do not fully understand the mission statement of the agency, or to not even bear with them the sort of institutional knowledge that is most beneficial here.
Congressman, there's the email that was sent to federal employees, the infamous email asking for a list of what they have done in the past week to, in essence, justify their employment, perhaps. I was struck by the fact that a fellow member of your New York congressional delegation, a Republican, Nicole Malliotakis, has come out somewhat critical of that, questioning the responsibility of that. Where do you stand with that?
I thought that was just a bogus way to approach the situation. What they don't understand is that there is an assignment to workers on various issues that they have to achieve. Some of that done is over longer term and some with short term. But even the leaders of agencies appointed by now President Trump disagreed with Mr. Musk's dictate to the worker. And I think it was a failure from the start, and it looked like a great conflict emerging between the agency heads, the cabinet members, and Mr. Musk. And one has to wonder who's in charge here. And America did not elect Elon Musk. America deserves to have someone, this man worth $414 billion, the most wealthy person in the world, is not going to identify with the struggles and the needs of America's working families and middle-income community and those looking to ascend the middle-income community. We need to make certain that programs that serve to build the 20th Congressional District and to grow the economic recovery, which began during the last administration, needs to continue. And this individual, I don't believe America trusts or places a great confidence in.
At least one judge has now temporarily blocked the freezing of federal aid. Do you see the need to get rid of some federal aid, to get rid of some of these things that are being talked about?
Well, I think the aid that they were freezing were numbers that were approved by both Republicans and Democrats as we developed the fiscal plan, which they bombarded at the end of December. And so I think, you know, that those numbers, those grants that were stymied by Mr. Musk were legitimate. We believe they had review from both sides and both houses in Congress. And so I think it was yet another disruptive outcome for people being able to deliver services to the general public across the country. And, you know, to have even a stay offered by these judicial decisions is disruptive in perhaps delaying payments or having that start and start and stop syndrome, where you're really disrupting the flow of activity. Some of these agencies could not pay their employees, so it was detrimental, it was unnecessary, and it goes to show that experience here and resorting to groups like the Inspectors General would have been the much better outcome.
The House passed a budget last night along party lines, almost along party lines. One Republican went with the Democrats. Are you worried at all about Medicaid? I don't think Medicaid's mentioned in the cuts that one committee has to make, but there are $880 billion of cuts that do have to be made in that committee. Is Medicaid threatened right now?
Yeah, President Trump and the Republicans in Congress don't want to talk about the impact on Medicaid, the outright assault of Medicaid. It is a far-reaching program. It reaches many, many people, from children to parents to seniors. And it is one that has had great involvement with the Affordable Care Act, making affordability and accessibility the outcome. What they don't understand is that it's a huge contributor to health care in terms of federal dollars that go into Medicaid. You might have programs like education and infrastructure that are huge investments by individual states. But when you look at health care, the overwhelming percentage of aid coming from Washington is in the healthcare area. We are the far greater percentage of outcome for the healthcare situation.
I know there's a lot of noise behind us, so I appreciate you being patient and staying with us here.
Do you need me to repeat that because it got?
We got you. I know it's busy there.
Okay.
Let me ask you one quick, lighter, parochial question here.
Greg, let me also, Greg.
Go ahead.
Greg, to complete my thought
Sure.
on the Medicaid issue, what people don't always see is the great number of peoples that qualify, that are involved in their access and affordability for health care. In some of this, across upstate New York, it's a great percentage of people. For the district just north of me, in the 21st Congressional District, I think it's the highest participation in upstate New York, with nearly 300,000 people qualifying that are served by Medicaid. We need to keep that statistic in mind, front and center in our discussions. And the whole effort here, and I was at a markup day long, 13 hours long, with the Energy and Commerce Committee, with the subcommittee of health being very concerned about the Medicaid outcome. And basically, their goal as a Republican Party, led by President Trump, is to offer very magnanimous tax cuts to the very few at the expense of cutting health care for the great many.
And with that protest behind you, I'll ask you just one more question, Congressman, and it involves our local area here.
Sure.
We're co-sponsoring a bill to change the Saratoga National Historic Site, the name of it, to the Battlefield Park. Why is that important for the region?
I didn't hear your final statement there.
I was asking you why you think it's important to change the name of the Saratoga National Historic Site to the Battlefield Park.
Okay. Sure, I think it's the imagery that is important for people to understand that the richness of history as it relates to the development of this nation is a very sound asset in upstate New York. You know, the impact of the battle at Saratoga, deemed the most effective battle of the millennium by Time magazine, shows the greatness of that location and the sense of destination, the place esteem associated with the impact and the events at Saratoga are further deepened by having that designation, I think.
Okay. Well, Congressman, we thank you so much. I know it's been tough for you dealing with the noise in the background. There often is, a noisiness to the Capitol Rotunda, so we thank you so much. And you can put this now on your list of things you did this week.
Absolutely. You know, it's just been a really busy time down here, and the fight goes on to make certain that the battle for the middle class and those looking to ascend the middle-income community is maintained here because there's an effort to really push us into a scenario like 2016, where the budget was impacted, the deficit was impacted by the first Trump tax cut proposal, and it was historic largest in the nation's history. So we can't afford to add to that deficit.
Congressman, we'll leave it there. Congressman Paul Tonko for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us today, Congressman.
Thank you so much, Greg. You can tell there's action down here.
Yes.
You too.